let's look at the answers to the work that you did on the metric conversion sheet, where you're just moving the decimal, following the chart. Take a look at these. You can pause this since it's a video. I want to just point out a couple of things. I know I did a few of these for you with you on the first video. When you look at the bottom half of this, one of the ones that people ask about the most is number 5. Because the way it's written, there's that 0 after the 4. But remember, with rule number 5 of our significant figure rules, that 0's not significant. So when I do my conversion, I always want to make sure that at the end I have the same number of significant figures as when I started. So many students, when they move that decimal back, they end up with 0.240, and they recopy the 0. They recopy that 0. But since that 0 is not significant, I don't really want it there, because once I have it as a trailing 0, it looks significant, and that's misleading. So that's why you'll see the answer key show it as 0.24 with no extra 0 there, because technically that's not right. But again, we're looking at significant figures, we're learning to embrace significant figures, but if that was the only mistake you made on a quiz that's testing your ability to find the conversion, you're in good shape. So don't beat yourself up about the idea of a extra 0 where it kind of doesn't belong. Okay, so the same thing happens here. In number 6, we're going to move the decimal. Okay, we're over here at kilometer. We're going to move the decimal all the way to centimeter. When we move that decimal over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we had to add an extra 0 in as a placeholder. And sometimes students will give an incorrect answer with 58. But that's not moving the decimal over enough times. That extra time brings that decimal over here, okay? So you need that placeholder 0. The trick is, do you want to show that decimal or not? Since our original number has 2 significant figures, we really don't want to show that decimal point. Again, if that's the only mistake that you're making is confusion with significant figures, you're doing great. You're doing great. But ideally, we want to embrace significant figures. The more we practice with them, the better we're going to feel about them, because we're still thinking that they're just a little weird, and I understand that. So again, the other same kind of a thing here. We're going to go do in number 8. It's 850 millimeters, which is here. I'm moving it to centimeters. I'm really only moving my decimal point over one place to the left. So the invisible decimal point is at the end. I move it over, and now it's after the 5. I made that 0 disappear for that same reason. I have 2 significant figures here. I want there to be 2 significant figures there, okay? So I didn't put 85.0, because trailing 0s are significant, and I don't want to add significant figures to my number. So, but again, if you put the decimal where it needed to be, you're in great shape, okay? You're doing good. Here's the back. You see, notice number 6. Okay, number 6, we're going from grams to milligrams, which on our chart, gram to milligram is going to be a 1, 2, 3 place. If you've got your chart in front of you, you can see that. And so as I work with that, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places from milligram to gram. I'm going to go to the left. 1, 2, 3. On this one, I'm sorry, I said left, but I mean right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And so I'm going to move that decimal over 1, 2. On the third one, I need that placeholder. That's why I underlined the second 0, because the second 0 was my estimate in the original. Remember, our last significant figure is their estimate. It's still going to be the estimate after I converted it. Okay, so again, I went from grams, 1, 2, 3, okay, to the right. Okay, the one above it, we did just the opposite. We went from milligrams, that's the one where we go to the left, from milligrams to grams, 3 places. And when we move that decimal, we have to provide some placeholders, right? 1, 2, 3. So the decimal was there, okay, but now 1, 2, 3, here it is over here. I kept my zeros on that one because they were significant before, so they're still significant now. Significant figures are really interesting, and metric conversions, although like I said, if on a quiz, if you messed up just with significant figures, I would not count that off, but we don't want to waste that opportunity to have good conversations about how those significant figures play out as we make our conversions, okay? And that takes us to the answers to the homework from Tuesday during the video. And so this is going to give us an opportunity to practice dimensional analysis. So we're going to start out, we're going to copy what they give us. I've got liter, that's what I need, and I need to figure out what's the relationship between liters and quarts. And if you look on your reference sheet that you received, you have all kinds of conversion factors. Look on the side where it's converting from SI units to the US units, and we'll find that 1 liter is equal to 1.06 quart. I'm not the best at writing with a stylus. So I'm going to take my next step there, and I want liter to be in the denominator. I'm going to use this conversion factor. I want liter to be in the denominator so that it's going to cancel. So that means the other half of my conversion factor is going to fall into place in the numerator, 1.06 quarts, okay? And my liters are going to cancel. And then I'm going to multiply by everything in the numerator and divide by everything in the denominator. So I'm going to take my calculator, I'm going to take, put in 25.0. I grabbed a calculator. Not sure if I grabbed one that works. And then I'm going to multiply by 1.06, and my calculator kicks out a number, 26.5. And that's in quarts. I bring my unit over, and that's what I call a kickout number. And now, when I do this work, the way that significant figures work out, and this is again something that I'm going to show you how I do it, but you are not responsible for rounding with the correct significant figures at this point in time. But I notice that I can count my significant figures. I have 1, 2, 3 in my first measurement. I have 1, 2, 3 in my conversion factor. So I'm going to look and see if I can have 3 significant figures in my answer, and that's exactly what it already has, so I'm not gonna round anything, I'm just gonna leave it, okay? So that's my answer to the first one. Did you get that right answer? I hope so. So for the second example, we had 7,500 grams Ooh, notice that underline? That's our estimate, or somebody's estimate. So now I'm gonna look on my reference and I wanna connect grams and turn it into pounds. So on my reference page, there should be a conversion factor. Did you find it? It states that there are 454 grams in 1 pound. That's our conversion factor that we're going to be able to use. And so I'm going to copy what they give me with the unit. In my next step, I'm going to take that conversion factor and I'm going to put it into a ratio in such a way that gram, the original unit, is in the denominator, so it will cancel. So 454 is going to be in the denominator, and 1 pound is going to be in the numerator. Grams will cancel, and my answer is going to be in pound. And now I just multiply by anything in the numerator and divide by anything in the denominator. So 7500 times 1, you know that doesn't change anything, but if you want to put it into the calculator, that's okay. And then you're going to hit the divide key, 454, and you're going to get 16.5198. Look at that, 16.5198, and there's even more, 2, and there's even more after that. That's a lot. The unit is in pounds. Okay, look at all those numbers though. This is where significant figures really starts happening, okay? So what I'm gonna do, and again, I know you're a beginner with significant figures, but I want you to see how I'm using significant figures. I'm gonna look, and I see that my first measurement here had 1, 2, 3 significant figures. My conversion factor also has 3. I want my answer to have 3. So I'm gonna keep the first one, the second one, and the third one. And that number 1 next to the 5, that's not big enough to make it round up to 6. So I'm keeping 6.5 in my answer. And my answer is going to have 3 significant figures to match my original measurement. That's how significant figures are really used, is to decide what to do with those numbers that come out of the calculator that have lots of extra numbers that we probably don't need. How do we figure out which ones to keep? That's what we eventually use significant figures for. Okay, there's the answers. Have a good day.